Hello, all of you beautiful people. It's Overedge Props once again for probably the final render of 2021. Now, this one was a little bit slow, getting going, but I wanted to do something a little bit different and kind of challenge myself with different functions and, different ways of doing things in Fusion, and this was the result. Just a bit of a life update before we start getting into this. The reason why things have been going a little bit slower is I started a new job back in October. It's going very well. I'm actually working for the city I live in. So that's a big plus, and I'm also not working, 14 hours a day and have no time to myself ever. Definitely much happier, and, it leaves me time to actually do the things that I like to do. Unfortunately, my dream of streaming by the end of the year has been delayed until at least February. Thanks, Starlink, but hopefully it gets here sooner rather than later. And I've also got a new computer coming in. I kind of treated myself this past Black Friday and dropped quite a bit of money on getting a gaming computer built. And that is actually coming in next week. So I will be posting pictures of my new war machine when it comes in and I get it all set up. But anyway, enough about me. Let's get into this render. Now, this Kanabo that I've 3D modeled for you today is for Oniyome Fujihara. Oni, as I'm going to refer to her moving forward, is the owner of an onsen, and she is also a former warlord. And outside of those, she is a Twitch VTuber who is very, very close to 1,000 followers. So I'm going to link her channel down below in the description. Go over there, give her a follow. Let's help her get there because trust me, Oni deserves it. Because not only is she a great VTuber, she is also a fantastic artist. Anytime that I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see some of her artwork, it stops me in my tracks and I always have to admire it because there's something about Oni's art style that I love. And trust me, my Twitter feed is filled with nothing but VTubers and art and, some of you being horny on main almost every day. Seeing her art is always a treat for me. And she occasionally does open up live 2D art commissions. Now that means it's not for the rigging part of it, but it's just for the model art. And let me tell you, that will get you started in the right direction because her art is just, it's chef's kiss. I love her art. And outside of all of those duties, Oni is also a mother to her little Shoko. And you can sometimes hear Shoko in the background during some of her streams. And I've always made it a point in both Kanabos to incorporate Shoko's name somewhere on the model. The first time it was a charm. This time I have engraved her name into the gold band near the back of the handle. And you'll see some pictures of that towards the end of the video. And also, if you saw my preview picture over on Twitter, that is her name written in kanji. Now, the reason why this Kanabo looks the way it does is because, like I said, Oni used to be a warlord. So that should immediately tell you, behave yourself in the onsen or else. Because trust me, she will probably either grab this one, the other one, or both and just home run bat your ass right out of the onsen. And trust me, it's not going to tickle. Sometimes the most soothing people can give you the most brutal ass whipping ever. But I actually met Oni in one of Nahoko's streams in October of 2020. And I honestly didn't even know that she was a VTuber at the time because I was still relatively new to the community. And, we were just, I think it was just her and I. We were just in the stream. We were talking with Naho. We're screaming with her as she played Outlast. And, her and I chatted and stuff too. And then when I found out she was a VTuber, I was just like, holy crap, I didn't realize it was that easy to talk to people. Granted, I did think that maybe I had said something wrong or something because, me being a viewer and these two being a VTuber, maybe I'm like overstepping boundaries. But then when I actually popped in one of her streams for the first time, she was just as kind as she was in the chat. And that definitely put me at ease and also relaxed me a lot because let me tell you, Oni has one of the most relaxing voices for any content creator that I've ever encountered. If you want to watch a relaxing stream, just pop into one of hers. Even if it's a horror game, I guarantee you will be relaxed when she talks because She's played stuff like The Long Dark, Fatal Frame, Resident Evil 7, and even just like her art streams or just chatting streams. The one time that she collabed playing Raft that I caught, every time, like I'm having a great time watching, but then her voice just starts sending me off to dreamland. And trust me, I have no complaints there. So this render actually took me about 3.5 hours. And the reason for that is because Fusion decided, hey, I'm going to crash right now, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Not once, not even twice, but 3 damn times throughout my entire workflow. And let me tell you, I had a mini panic attack every time that little window popped up and said, hey, do you want to send a crash report to us? And I'm like, what the hell are you guys going to do? I need this fixed now. Luckily, for whatever reason, be it an update or be it that I'm paying for a subscription now, there is an autosave feature. So if Fusion does crash, it gives me a recovery file to work off of. Because last year I had something like that happen and I thought I lost everything. And let me tell you, that was probably the worst 10 hours of my life. Just all the hours I spent working on stuff, just the thought of it being lost was terrible. Now that there's an autosave feature, I feel a little bit more at ease if something does decide to happen. As I stated before, this one looks vastly different than the previous one that I did for Oni. This one has a little bit more of a ruthless design due to her lore stating that she used to be a warlord. Now, I will admit my info might be a little bit outdated, but the warlord part of her lore was a part of it when I actually discovered her. So if it is wrong, I apologize, but that is kind of what I was going off of, and hopefully you enjoy this design nonetheless. When I was actually trying to sketch this out, I went through, and I kid you not, at least a dozen hand-drawn designs before I settled on this one. I kept finding things that I didn't like in previous designs, but when I actually found something that I did like, I would make a mental note of it, and then out of literally all those designs, I Frankensteined all the pieces that I liked, and this was the result. And when I finally drew it out and kind of pictured how it would look in my head in 3D model space, I was like, yeah, this will work. This actually looks pretty good. And, you know, one of the designs had a hidden katana featured into it, but I couldn't find a way to actually incorporate it into this one using Fusion. Maybe when I finally make the jump over to Blender, even though I've been saying that for God knows how many videos now, but maybe Blender will give me a little bit more creative freedom to actually do some of the crazier designs I've got in my head, or that I think of when I'm actually doing 3D modeling or sketching. But this design features a couple of different things for it to go with the more ruthless design, as you can probably see. It features blunt spheres to break armor, blades to rend the flesh once you break through that armor, and spikes to pierce chainmail and shields. And the handle guard also features spikes for when opponents get a little too close. You can kind of just, pop them right in the nose or in the face or whatever you can actually get those spikes into, just to back them off a little bit. Now, on the Kanabo itself, those blades and spheres were not placed individually, thank God, like I've done in the past. I discovered something called the pathing tool, which allows you to basically highlight what model you want to copy, and then you set a path for it, and then you can set the distance and also how many copies of that one item that you want along that specific path. Now, I did have to kind of copy one onto each individual line, but it made it a hell of a lot easier to make multiple things and space them correctly than doing it manually. But that tool is a godsend for when you're doing stuff like this. The color design was done following her new design that she has. Her new costume actually has more darker colors, as well as like the traditional like orange and light blue of her skin and everything. So it gave me a little bit more of a color palette to work with. And I did play around with color variations until I found one I liked. And the blades that are on the Kanabo, I colored twice individually. But we suffer for our art, right? Please, God, tell me we suffer for our art. But I'm not an art major, so I don't know anything about color theory. So if any of my color choices irk you, I sincerely apologize, but I am still learning. The gold band towards the bottom of the handle actually has Shoko's name written in Japanese kanji around it. Now, the reason why I didn't go with the charm this time is because since this is from her past, maybe it was a name that she was going to eventually name her child. So instead of having an actual charm dedicated to it could actually be grabbed and used against her, I decided just to emboss it into the gold band itself. So even though it's not as prominent as the last one, that tribute to Shoko is still there. I hope you enjoyed that, and I actually did use more traditional kanji for it for Shoko, and hopefully those of you that do know how to speak and read Japanese will, correct me if I'm wrong so I can make that change in the future, but hopefully Google was right this time and didn't screw me over with that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out, given how much time it took me to actually get to the 3D model portion. And this design on paper looked very, very complex, and I was actually kind of worried how it would translate into the 3D space, but I'm glad that it went as smoothly as it did, because I've done some crazy designs in the past and had to revamp the entire design just because certain things would not work. So I'm very happy that this one came out as smoothly as it did and didn't give me a giant headache, because I love complexity, but sometimes I am my own worst enemy when it comes to making designs. That's the last render of 2021. Thanks for watching, everyone. But going into 2022, the goal that I have for myself is to do one render a month. And I'm also planning to actually post polls and suggestions so that way you can interact with me and let me know what you would like to see. Because if I find something that I like, it might get rendered depending on the complexity of it. But it'll also challenge me to learn a little bit more and might actually give me the boot to make the jump over to Blender finally and stop saying like, well, when I plan to make the jump over to Blender. But for that to happen, I need better internet first. So let's hope for that Starlink internet to come in sooner rather than later, because this delay is killing me. With that being said, I just wanted to say, Oni, thank you so much for always being one of the nicest VTubers and just people in general that I've met in the community. I know I'm not the most active person in your community, but I'm always cheering you on from the background. When I pop into one of your streams, I always try to say hi, but most of the time, as soon as I pop in, you just automatically almost start putting me to sleep with your voice because it's just so relaxing, especially after a long day of work. It's very nice to go into a stream and just be like, even though she's playing a horror game, I'm finally relaxed. So thank you so much for the amazing content that you always put out, and as I said, for just being one of the nicest people I've met in the community. And I hope that 2022 is filled with nothing but happiness and success for you and your family. And to all of you that have been watching my videos and giving me support and cheering me on, I wanted to say thank you as well for an amazing 2021. It's been a roller coaster of a year for all of us, but me being able to make content for you guys has been a joy for me as well, because you're all still here. You're all still watching my videos. Even though I'm not a streamer just yet, you guys seem to enjoy what I put out, so that just urges me more for when I finally am able to start streaming to be able to do it for you guys live and be able to talk and answer questions for you as I do it. And you can also share in my rage if Fusion decides to crash or something's not working right. And who knows, maybe you know of a workaround for it and can teach me some stuff as well. So, in closing, thank you again, everyone, for an amazing 2021. And hopefully 2022 is a little bit better for all of us. I'm Overedge Props. I will see you next year. And remember, never stop creating, because you never know what you can create if you put your mind to it. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a happy holidays and a great new year. See you around.